Good morning and welcome to In Search of Prosperity Sisterhood. I am so glad you ladies are here this morning, taking that time, cheering each other on. We had some celebrations to start out our morning and already started with some high fives. So I gotta love it. If anything comes up for you or you want to share, throw something in the chat, ask your question in the replay, whatever it might be. So interact however your heart desires. This morning, we're coming out of a couple workshops and I'm kind of snowballing those. I want to keep that momentum going for you ladies because there are questions. When you leave a workshop, there's questions like, what's next? What do I do now? Like, I have the worksheet filled out. I got excited. I did this thing. I put this on my calendar. I put this on my board. I did these other things, but now what? And now is that opportunity to take those feelings and put them into words and actions. So this might help you fill in some of the blanks of what those action steps could be for you, as well as daily actions and even some affirmations. We might get into that this morning. So as you go into this, what's next? Journal about it. What are you feeling about these big things you wrote down and dreamed about? Maybe there's something that still just feels big and hairy and scary. We talked about that. So what are those things that are what makes that? Here's the question. What makes that feel so big? Is there a part of it you don't understand? Is there a part of it you can't do and you have to outsource? What is making it feel so big? Cut it into pieces. So then the next question to that is, what can make it feel smaller? Cutting it into those pieces, outsourcing those things, reaching out, raising your hand, saying, hey, friends, I need help with X. What do you got? And then maybe organizing it into action steps, whether it's outsourcing over here so I can work on this, or this is the really big thing that is this hurdle. So whether it's a special promotion that you have to have on your calendar, a certain goal, an obstacle, or maintenance on something that you've left behind, maybe. Where do you get started? I shared a while back, like, just wash the forks. Because if that's what you need to get through the day, that's all you need is to wash through the forks, right? When you have this obstacle, what would make it smaller? I'll share an obstacle I had with you ladies about starting this sisterhood in the first place. As I journaled about it, I was like, what's holding me back? Why would I not do this? And what was holding me back, what I felt was the biggest thing holding me back, was my internet. It wasn't that great. And I paid a lot for it. And I had some friends that had good experience with Starlink internet. So I went for it. And I paid the deposit. It was $600. Paid the deposit for the equipment and activation or whatever it was. And I got that in place like 2 months before we started this sisterhood. But I knew that that was keeping me from other action. Does that make sense? Like that thing, I still had internet. I could still do 99% of what I was doing to prepare for this group. But putting that internet in place allowed me to expand and say, okay, yes, actually, I can serve these women because they can hear me and they can see me and all the stuff, right? Whereas if I had 5 or 6 women on a video call, I'd have to turn my video off by now with my old internet because it couldn't handle me and these women, right? So having put this in place, then I could write the content. Then I could make the graphics. Then I could make the promises and put other things in place. So that was that first part of that. What do I do? What are my action steps? Because was that the first thing that needed to be taken care of? No. But it was the thing blocking my brain, blocking my ability to make promises. So, what are those for you? I would encourage you to write those down, walk them through, walk that scenario through, and then prioritize. Create a timeline, work it backwards, right? If you have a hard date that you want to set for that promotion or that goal to be met, right? Work backwards from there. Give yourself the 3 weeks for influenza, like I had to do at the beginning of the year, right? Give yourself a little bit of grace, that wiggle room, give yourself the weekends, or right? Like part and piece that out so that that timeline seems manageable, but also that it seems like it's pushing you that just that little bit, stretching you that 1%. So the key, this is something that I help my clients do when they feel like they're like, where do I start? Right? Pick just one thing. And I do this, pick just one thing. Okay. Implement just one thing. What is it? There's no right or wrong answer to that. So then once you have those action steps, that timeline, how does it feel? Go back to how does it feel? How does the plan feel? How does the action feel? How does that idea feel? And that's something for me with that internet holding me back. I would say before I connected this, I said to myself, but what if they can't hear me? Like, what if I do all of this and my internet doesn't support it? Well, that showed me instantly what I needed to do first. I picked the one thing, and that was internet. So I could do the rest. Maybe your one thing is creating that flyer so you can hand it to a business person that you're networking with, right? Or meeting with. When you ask yourself, how does that feel? Sometimes it's big and scary and we cry. I've asked that of a couple of my clients when we work through something and we stop and breathe and I say, okay, how does that feel? And it's like, oh, right? And I want that for you. I want that for you, ladies. So when you ask yourself, how does that feel? The next question becomes, is there something you don't like about that plan, about that direction? Right? Because we're going to go back and look at that, right? So is there something you don't like? Make it likable. It's I'm a Scorpio, I'm a control freak, all those things, right? I'll share that with you right out of the gate. So make it likable. Work around that obstacle. If you can't change your mindset about a certain piece to the puzzle, that piece to the puzzle needs to be replaced, needs to be better fitted for who you are and what you do, because there's no right or wrong answers. And then you go back and you set that timeline and you work backwards. So when I say work around it, I have an example for you. I had a client who, um, she was a bookkeeper, and she didn't want to do social media. She felt obligated to, but it just felt weird, and um, it took a lot of her time that she didn't have or didn't want to invest, and yet she felt like she had to in that action steps list. When really, in her business, in her lifestyle, in the way she wanted her business to look at the end of the day, at the end of the year, she didn't need social media. She needed 30 clients. That's all she needed. She didn't need social media. She didn't need to spend 2 hours a day making the posts, doing the things, interacting. Oh, and by the way, social media, most of it is pay to play, right? So investing not only your time, but your money. Okay. And again, she only needed 30 clients to fill her books for the year. So we created a plan that just didn't involve social media, and instead invested probably 2 hours of networking and probably 6 to 8 hours of potential client activities, whether it was meeting with them or not, um, follow-ups and things like that. And the rest was work, doing the work she promised to do. And she filled her book of business in like 6 months. And social media was not something she wanted to do or be on. So we worked around it. You don't have to force anything. So as you're asking yourself, what's next? And then you ask yourself how that feels. If you don't like it, you don't have to like it. Does that make sense? Like, does that resonate with you, ladies? Like, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Are you going to be uncomfortable and do some other things that you don't feel like doing or that are big and hairy and scary? Yeah. But if there's something you don't like or an obstacle that you just can't get around, like, yes, there is mindset work and all the things and the affirmations. We can go over affirmations all day long. But if there's something that you don't want, that you want to work around it. Like, there's no rules. And then the key, again, picking one thing at a time. And the reason you pick one thing at a time is because what if it was the wrong thing? And you've been doing 10 other things at the same time that you changed, you don't know which one is wrong. So if you threw all those chips up in the air that you said, oh, these are all the action steps, I don't know what to do next, I'm just going to pick one. But if you pick 3 or 4 and you do them in the wrong order, or you present them all at the same time, you don't know which one went wrong. Does that make sense? Like, I learned this troubleshooting over the phone. And when you are dealing with another human, with another process, with a whatever, following the steps, doing the checklist one at a time, the process can stop and say, oh, wait, I didn't do that, or that didn't work, or when I clicked that button, it didn't go to where you said it was, whatever it is. Okay. When you do one thing at a time, when something goes wrong, you can backtrack and say exactly where it was. But when you dump 4 things out, when you launch 4 things at the same time, you don't know which one went wrong, if something went wrong, right? Like, I'm being a little bit of the devil's advocate on that. But when you pick just one thing, you can write it down and check it off of your list on the same day or in the same moment, right? Like, I did this one thing. And you can move on. Versus juggling. Maybe juggling is what is holding you back. Set the other 3 down and just do the one. I'm using the number 4 today for some reason. A note I wrote on here just as a creative thought for us ladies in here as we maybe go into uncharted territories in doing something new. Maybe there's a checklist somewhere from someone that you can download. How to get the first 200 followers on Instagram. I should probably, for my being honest with you ladies, that's probably a checklist I should download. Right? Someone else did that work. I'll pay $5 for that checklist, right? So just a creative idea. Like maybe there's a checklist you can download of that big, hairy, scary thing you don't even know where to start with. And I want you to share those things. Okay, ladies, when we go into this discussion, like maybe there is something you've been in search of and someone else in this group has already done it. And they can say, oh yeah, follow so-and-so. They know, they can give you the list, or listen to this YouTube video, or I don't know. We never know what is going to come out of these discussions, right? So is there something that you have on your list that you don't know where to start? That's our question I want to go into our group this morning. And then also, last week, our quote was, you can't afford not to share who you're becoming. So as you learn these things, as you come across the best checklist you've ever come across, as you create your own checklist, share those things, because you never know who's watching you and who's wondering what's next. So I just want to share that you are inspiring and you are inspired and it feels good, whatever it is. You're going to make it feel good in a good way, not in a forceful way, right? So as we go into our discussion, that's what we're going to talk about, just what we're looking for and where we're going to start and how maybe someone in this room can help you get there. So with that, thank you for joining me today, and we're going into our live discussion. See you next time. Oh, not end meeting for all. Not that one. Thank you.